Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Ed's Metal. As you can see maybe in the background here, we have a new project. The air compressor pump gave out on me. I'll give you a little backstory here and we'll take a look at this thing. Anyway, hope you enjoy this and like and subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you will. Anyway, here's the compressor. Alrighty. This compressor was an Energiair 2. 80-gallon tank, 5 horsepower, 2-stage. Anyway, it was bought new in 1984 and performed flawlessly until 6/25/2020. What's that? 36 years the pump lasted. Well, as you can see by this sign, in 6/25/2020, 2 years ago, I had to replace the pump. This was a direct replacement for my pump. It bolted up the same holes. All the pipe connections were the same. There's a few outside differences. Mainly, it looks like to make it cheaper. But anyway, there used to be forged aluminum cooling fins on here. Now it's just a piece of steel pipe. This side here is pretty much the same with the forged aluminum cooling. But anyway, this is a North Star pump bought from Northern Tool. And like I said, the first pump lasted 26 years. This pump lasted 2 years. I don't know what's wrong with it yet. We're going to tear into it in this video, but it's junk. It's junk right now. What first gave me a clue is when this pop-off valve between the high and low cylinder started popping on every stroke. Well, I thought maybe the pop-off valve was bad, so I put a different one in there, an adjustable one with the same bar rating as this one, PSI, but it popped also. So I just plugged the hole up to see what would happen. Well, the pump runs and runs and runs and don't put no air in the tank. Whatever the pressure in the tank at the time, 20, 30, 100, 150 is the highest I got it, but that's where it stays. The pump runs and runs and it don't put no more air in the tank. You can grab this feed tube on the side here. Normally that's hotter than hell from that air coming out of that pump, and it's fairly cool to the touch. So that tells me there ain't no air transferring out of that high side into the tank. So I suspect bad valves or whatever it is. That is actually what broke in my other pump after 26 years. But I got a parts diagram here. I'll show you the difference internally of these two pumps that look exactly like externally. But anyway, this is a picture of the unit. It's been a good unit for me. Can't complain one bit, except for the new pump put on 2 years ago. Junk. Anyway, here's the new pump. You can see it's a North Star. Mine's a 45932. I don't know, I give 650 for it or in that range. I don't know for sure. I'd have to look it up, but Today, a new one is $749.99. Well, I looked in the parts diagram, which we'll look at here in a minute. There's two cylinder head gaskets and what they call a valve plate. You can't buy the cylinder head gasket separately. You got to buy a whole gasket kit. That's $124.50. The valve plate is $549. Just those parts equal $673.50. So another 50 bucks, you can have a whole new pump, which I'm not going to do because it's junk. Anyway, here's the two exploded views of the pump. This is the old pump, one that lasted 26 years. I don't know if you can see this valve assembly here. It must consist of at least 24 parts, and that is what one of the springs and one of the valves broke in my old one after 26 years and I couldn't find no parts. There are no parts available for this. Anyway, that's the view of the old pump. You can see these cast iron cooling fins that are now just steel pipe on the new pump. Well, here's the new pump. You'll notice this valve plate, one piece. Now, they cheapened that up also on this newer replacement pump. Here's that steel pipe I was talking about that they did away with the cooling fins on there. But anyway, you can see it's just now what they call a valve plate. That's the only part. I haven't got it apart yet, but I'm suspecting it's maybe like a reed valve, where this had individual valves for the high and low side with spring bolts and stuff like that. This is just like maybe a reed valve, ain't sure. But anyway, like I said, this is a North Star pump, direct replacement for the one that was on my compressor. I was told back in the day that this was a division of Ingersoll Rand, I think. This Energizer 2, but when mine failed, it's so old that no parts were available anymore, except for you could buy this from Northern Tool. And kind of sorry I did invest that $650 at the time in a whole new unit, but shoot, you got a good tank, good 5-horse motor. You don't see big industrial motors, 5-horse motors like that on air compressors anymore with the mag starter. A lot of them are 7.5 horse now. The 5 horses, they're just capacitor start. But anyway, we're gonna tear into this thing. I'll get you guys set up in a good location so you can go down the road with me, and we'll see what is wrong with this thing and if it can be repaired, or else I might be compressor shopping. We'll be right back. I'll get you set up. Alrighty, I think I got you set up here. I'm gonna tear into this thing. We'll take this cylinder head off and see if we can see what's wrong with the inside of this. Don't look to be too difficult, but we'll get into it. I got a fan going in the background. I hope that doesn't bother the noise or microphone too much. It's only about 100 degrees outside today, so trying to stay a little bit cool. All right, here we go. Hope you enjoy. just let that hang there. You gotta take the whole flywheel off to get that out of there. Alright, now move to the other side. Sorry you guys can't see much, but there isn't much to see on this side, so. Oh my, then they're on there. I have to get a ratchet. Break these loose. I don't know if that's corrosion on that bolt or if it's a Loctite or some kind of powdery corrosion of some kind on there. Wipes off on your thumb, whatever it is. Alright, that's loose. And I'll try to break these head bolts loose here. Don't know if these are all the same size or not. So far they are. It looks to be all we have to do to get that head off of there. Just for a quick visual, I'm going to look down these ports here and see if I can see anything. Can't really see anything in there. Alright, we'll try popping that head off. shoot, that wasn't bad. Well, I sure don't know what they mean by the valve plate on here. This I think I found the problem though. You can see right here, head gasket blown. That's no good. Blew right through there for some reason. Both sides. See this side also? This side also. I'll be dang. Or if improper torque caused that, or what caused that? I don't know why this one is so discolored. Almost looks like it's like rusty or something. Don't know. Oh, there's the valve plate. That gasket looks really good there. Can't complain about that one. I don't know. I don't see, other than this one having a little bit of corrosion on it, I don't see anything wrong with the valves on there. I would guess that it's that, just that, I would guess it's just that blown head gasket between these cylinders. Especially this one on the high pressure side. It's just going back and forth in there. It ain't going nowhere. You kind of see where that blew through there on this head, but on this valve plate, I should say. Everything inside looks like brand new. Can't complain about that. Yeah, we may be getting lucky here. We'll have to fabricate ourselves a new head gasket, and we'll might take this valve apart and clean that up, see what the deal is with that, but run some brake cleaner over these, make sure they're all good and clean, and we'll go from there. I'm encouraged that we might be able to put some life back in this jewel or junk, whatever you want to call it. All right, we'll be back in a minute. Alrighty, well, we located some gasket material for our compressor head gasket. I'll show you what we ended up with. We bought this Felpro rubber fiber sheet. That seemed to be almost what the original gasket material was like. It's kind of a rubbery, but, and you can see where it blew out, it's like got some fiber in it. But we're gonna make both gaskets. This is the lower valve plate gasket, and this is actually the head gasket, the upper valve plate gasket, you can call it, I guess. But anyway, this is our gasket material we found. I drew them out with my Sharpie, my good old fine Sharpie. But it comes rolled up, so that's why I got this bar on here to kind of keep it flat while I work with it. I already started cutting it out. Had to steal a little cheapo cutting board from Mom. It works really well along with my trusty X-Acto knife. But set. But we're getting her cut out. I do have a hole punch that happens to be real close to the hole. It's a little bit large, but not enough to make a difference, I don't think. And we'll get you set up here, and I'll cut a little bit. I'm not going to film the whole cutting. It ain't the most interesting thing in the world, but we'll get one cut out a little bit and then punch some holes. But anyway, I'm using this Permatex high-tack gasket sealer. This is something I used back in the day. There was no sealant or gasket of anything on the original gaskets. I thought, well, especially with the aluminum castings that these head and this valve plate are made out of, I was going to get something that would help hold it in place a little bit. So I'm hoping this Permatex high-tack will do that. Probably it won't fall apart the next time. If I got to do this again, for sure, with that stuff on there, you'll have to be prying stuff apart. But anyway, we'll get you set up here, and I'll do a little gasket cutting with my X-Acto knife. And like I said, I'm not going to film the whole thing, but we'll get you going on it here. Alrighty, got my trusty X-Acto knife. I use this larger handle, makes it more comfortable to get down in there rather than these skinny handles, but you can put a little more pressure on it with this. I got a little sharpening stone for dressing the knife in between cuts. So alrighty, we'll get going on this. I'll start on the outside of this one here. And just take a little short strokes. You don't got to really get in a hurry about it. These are just a copy of what was in there. I'm not changing the design at all. I don't know what would help, and the way it fits around them valves, you really can't do a whole lot different anyway. I don't know why it didn't hold from the factory, but we're going to try to make sure we get good torque on them head bolts. There's only 6 head bolts in there, so they're oh shoot, I don't know what size metric they are, about a 7/16 size, but in the metric, I tell you the truth, I haven't measured them or anything yet, but I don't know, I suppose they'll take 30 foot-pounds of torque. They're a socket head screw. That's usually at least a grade 5. But we'll get her coated with that high-tack gasket cement sealant, and that'll not only help with reassembling it, because I can set the gaskets in place where I know they're in the right spot and don't have to worry about them falling out or anything. I am going to make a couple studs, like to put in these center 2 holes to act as a guide as I set this assembly all back in there. I think that'll be the ticket to getting everything lined up good anyway. Then you don't have to be sliding it around once you set it together to get any bolt holes lined up or anything. But you see, this isn't too bad with this X-Acto knife. Like I said, just take little short strokes. Don't try to run a real long straight line or a curved line. Just a little short strokes following your pen mark. And it seems to work fine, especially with this cutting board behind there. I have to go buy Mama and go to the dollar store and buy Mama some new cutting boards. Give her a little run on the stone here. You want to kind of try to punch your holes before you cut the whole gasket out, because sometimes if you punch them holes with that kind of hole punch, gasket punch, it'll split out the gasket to the edge of the material here if it don't have a little bit of meat to work with there. Then you kind of got to start all over again. But yeah, I hope this cures the problem. Like I said, we'll look at them valves here in a little bit. I'm going to clean them up good with some brake cleaner, but I can't see anything wrong with them without taking one apart anyway. And I'm not sure what kind of torque setting or gap they have in them, so I'm going to leave them alone. Being as I found that bad head gasket, I'm assuming that was the problem. It acts like, the way it acted, that is an obvious problem, or cause of the problem anyway. Because it acted like it was just, like I said, pumping air between the high and low cylinder and nothing to the tank. So that's exactly what that blown head gasket would probably do. Alrighty, there we got the replacement for the head gasket. This is the top one. So you can see where it gets awful thin right in this area because them valves sit right in here. So I'm hoping that'll do the trick. All right, I'll go ahead and cut the rest of these out, and then we'll get on to assembling this thing. I'm not gonna bore you with cutting the rest of this out, but anyway, I'll be back in a bit. Alrighty, we're gonna punch these holes for this gasket. Like I said, it's nice to leave a little meat around these to add a little extra support when you punch these holes because of the taper in these. But I just use it's a piece of Lexan as a backer for this. You kind of just have to eyeball the hole. I try to hold it low so it's nice and flat on the gasket, and give it a pop. Punches a nice hole in there. Get it centered up there. Hold it down low. There we go. Yeah, come on. Shaky old hands here. All right. You don't have to hit it very hard. I just, once in a while, I'll run a countersink in there to kind of give it a new edge. But as long as you got a good backer of some, firm backer of some kind that is not, won't hurt the edge of that, they last a long time for cutting these gaskets. I've seen guys hit them on the iron table or whatever, and that don't do them any good at all, obviously. But there we go. We got the holes all punched for this gasket. We'll finish cutting it out later. I thought I'd show you a few, being we're on the gasket subject, a few tools that I've used throughout the years for making gaskets. It's kind of a lost trade, I think, sometimes, but there's a lot of instances where you just can't get a gasket, or you gotta make one in a hurry, don't have time to go get one. So it's nice to always have a little, of course, material around, but a good X-Acto knife set don't hurt anything. I think this one came from Northern Tool. And of course, the hole punches. I got a couple old ones that are different sizes, but I do have a new universal set that you just change out the head and screw it onto the body, and you got a wide range of holes you can punch with that. Also got this, it's called Spearhead 760. It's an adjustable gasket cutter. It's just for round gaskets, basically. You set up your diameter of your gasket, and then the blade goes in here. You got a little needle that pokes down through this hole, and then you run it around this pad and cut yourself out a real nice round gasket. Use that quite a bit through the years. It comes in handy. A lot of little carburetor bowl gaskets and things like that I've had to make when I'm in a pinch, but that's the main reason I have it. Sometimes if you need to, you can make a gasket punch just about out of anything. This is just a piece of 1/8 inch pipe. I run a countersink down in one end of it and then kind of sharpened it there. You know, you can, the thinner the pipe, the better. This is kind of a thick little piece of pipe, but heck, a piece of tubing, just put a little edge on it, and it'll make a good hole punch. But I just thought we'd go over a few of them things, being as we're on the subject of gaskets, and then we'll get back at this thing. Alrighty, here we go with the reassembly of this thing. I got this gasket coated. I'm gonna set her down on here. These guide pins will help a bunch. Stick it in place. All right, I'll get that valve body. Alright, sorry about that little delay. I had to go put a little bit on the surface of this valve plate to match up with this gasket here. So again, we'll slide it down over these guides and into place. Alright, now another gasket. In the head. Alrighty, we got the head, the gasket in position. I'll go ahead and slide it down over these studs here. Make sure that gasket stays in position. And down we go. Alright, got the bolts ready to go. Got some never sees on them. Alright, now we'll get our alignment studs out of there. I did slot the top of these so I can screw them out with a screwdriver. And we'll drop in the last two head bolts. Head bolts are all the same length. Alrighty. I don't know, we'll just kind of do a crosshatch pattern here. I did look up it's like, 52 Newton meters, which is on my torque wrench about 38 foot-pounds. Alrighty. We'll go see what we got here. Yeah, we're torquing them all down here to that 38 Newton meters. Looks like we're there. All right, looking good there. I'll continue with the reassembly of this thing, and we're gonna never seize all the bolts as we go back together. I always like to do that when you're going into aluminum, prevent galling. Gaskets. Didn't look up the torque on these. We'll just get them good and tight. Alrighty. Now we'll move on to the back side here. Get these bolts greased up a little bit. Alrighty. Now I got a new gasket for that. this discharge tube. Yeah, I think I got her. This bolt goes through a guard mount bracket. Ah. And now we'll have to fish that out of the pulley guard. We'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, excuse me for leaving you for a minute, but I dropped a bolt down in that pulley guard and I had to find a long magnetic stick to get it out of there. So we're on the, got the bolts lined up and got the guard mount bracket back in place. Tighten up that guard mount. One more check on this discharge tube. Alright, all we got left now is the air cleaner bracket. Alright, air cleaner bracket. Get our bolts never seized up here. Got a new gasket stuck on there. Alrighty, a little recap on our compressor repair. It seems to be performing as it should right now. No telling how long it'll last after my repair, but I'm happy that it's going again. Saves me a couple grand on having to buy a new one at the moment anyway. But just goes to show you, you can sometimes tear things apart and find a simple part to replace, fabricate, or do what you need to do and get things going again. But so far it's performing as expected after replacing the head gasket and the valve plate gasket. I did them both just to be safe. That way it's the same gasket material on both sides of that valve plate. But anyway, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this compressor pump is made in Italy. Must be built by Ferrari. As expensive as the parts are. I don't know, I mentioned before that the gasket set for this compressor is $125. We made the new head gasket, which was blown out between the intake and the discharge of the high cylinder here, high pressure cylinder. But $675 for a roll of gasket material, similar type, and about 20 minutes work, and got that replaced, got it fabricated and replaced. I did find another aftermarket resource for that, but they actually want $80 just for this gasket. So it pays to try to make things yourself now and then, if possible. This wasn't a hard project. Just trace it and cut it out. It's like we all did when we were kids. But anyway, I'm happy. Compressor's going again. We got to have 175 pounds in the tank, and I run 90-pound shop air, so it run up right to the 175-pound mark this morning when I ran it. It's noisier than hell all the time. That's why I'm not running it on this video, but and that's why it's not located in my shop. But anyway, thanks for sticking with me in this project. I hope you got a little insight into making gaskets and maybe taking a compressor pump apart, but it was a good little project. And on to the next. Please like and subscribe and share if you will. We'll see you on the next one.